Welcome to the Indie Women Podcast, where we introduce you to the fearless women taking their filmmaking careers into their own hands, showing you how indie films get made. And here's your host, Heather Turman.
Hello, and welcome to the Indie Women Podcast, a show dedicated to the women in the indie film world who have found success bringing their projects to life on their own terms. I'm your host, Heather Turman. And here we are, guys, another week. Thank you so much. If you are a return listener, thank you for checking out the show. It's been a blast to make so far. And these conversations that I'm getting to have with these creative women are just like, they just leave me feeling so inspired on a daily basis and make it easier to get up and tackle this jungle of the indie film world every day. So highly appreciate those of you who are continuing to listen. Please note that in addition to the audio version you're likely listening to, there are also full video versions of all episodes available on the Indie Women YouTube channel. So if you're digging it, be sure to like and subscribe there. It helps you put a face to the name. And so let's get into this week. This week, I sat down with Katie Preston. She's an actor turned writer and director who loves the thrill of creating so much she's even taken it upon herself to learn and work in the camera department as well, which I think is super badass. Katie shared all about her experience making indie content in a market outside of Los Angeles, which is also, I feel like, just an important topic to touch on because she's not in one of the major hubs, yet she does this and has found success. So she shares all about her experience in Boise, Idaho, where she's located. And she also talks about how she was compelled to write an 11-episode digital series called Running on Love, that it just poured out of her, and that she managed to direct all episodes during the COVID-19 pandemic as well. So Katie is a true independent creative spirit, and I just know you're going to love everything she had to say because I know I did. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Katie Preston.
Hello. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Welcome. Welcome. So nice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So nice to meet you. This last week, I got to see a lot of your work that you sent me and doing a little research on you. And so I'm really happy to have you here.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. I watched Stuck this week too. And
you
absolutely
did?
loved it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
I think my new dream is to try to get a dog to pee in a cup on camera. Like so much fun.
Totally. That's my dog.
Is it really?
Yeah. She started, I remember the table read with the actors. Heather Matarazzo had said, can I ask, who's playing the most important co-star? And I was like, looking around the table, I'm like, all the leads are here. And she's like, the dog. And I'm like, oh, my dog. And everyone's like, is it trained? And I'm like, she'll just do what we want her to do. And like, that was pretty much
small enough. You can hold her around there.
Yeah. she's a little people pleaser. She'll do whatever we say.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for watching and supporting.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for being on. I would love to just hear, how you got your start in the business and, we'll go from there. So
cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess as far as like in the business, probably like a lot of people in high school, I decided, I want to be an actor and started doing theater in high school. And then that ended like it does. And I was like, I'm going to move to LA. So I just went down there without, really having any acting training or really knowing what the industry was or the world was, or I was. And so I was down there for about 2 years and then kind of freaked out and was like, this is not heading in a direction that I can control here.
Sure.
And so I kind of went back to Boise to figure out kind of how to live where it was a little bit cheaper and, how to function as a human. There are certain things I don't think we know how to do for ourselves right out of high school.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And dumping into an environment like that wasn't super conducive for me figuring it out. But I've been really lucky since I've been back here. Stuff has been kind of exploding and it's given me the opportunity to almost go down there and do more. And I work in Salt Lake a lot because it's only a 5-hour drive from here. So the opportunities for being here right now are kind of funny.
Sure.
But like I said, I'm heading back down there in a week. So
So you gave yourself acting in a smaller market, gave you the opportunity to really find yourself as a performer, as a woman in this business.
It really has, because it's given me opportunities that I wouldn't get there just for sheer numbers.
Absolutely. It's 4,000. That's like what I heard is like 4,000. And I've said this on the podcast before, but basically the average number submitted per role is 4,000. So
my gosh.
Yeah.
That is astronomical. Yeah, no, that's just crazy. Yeah, like I've said it so many times, there's so many parts I've got to do here that I'm just like, I would not ever even be considered for that there. I would just be brushed under it. But I mean, that being said, I do want to start working down there more. I am working for that film festival down there, so I'm kind of in and out.
Yeah, lady filmmakers, correct?
Yes.
Cool, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
where Stuck was the first year I volunteered there.
Yeah. And just to give, listeners a background on it, is that when we connected, you said, so funny, I wondered why you seemed familiar. And then I remembered that the year Stuck was at Lady Filmmakers. It was my first year with them. Yeah. And that's just one of those that just shows, the size of this industry and how really small it is when you really break it down.
It's insane. It totally is.
Yeah. So then as an actor, so that's kind of how you ushered your way in. Then, because I see, you've done a ton of writing and directing and editing as well. Is that something that was born out of your acting, out of your love for acting, or was it like the need, or rather just you wanted to dip your toes in other creative aspects of this industry?
Maybe more the second. Honestly, there's a little part, like you think back on stuff you wanted to do as a kid and you're like, oh my God, I'm kind of doing that. Like there was a time I really wanted to edit, but I knew that I didn't think I would put the energy into it. So that's been something that's always kind of been there and silent. And that's been a godsend in itself because it gives you so much control over how your material is presented. So that's been kind of neat. And that led to wanting to do other things. I am super passionate about acting, but I feel like doing the other stuff gave me the ability to understand acting a little differently and take some of the pressure off what I thought it was supposed to be and realize what it is.
Absolutely. No, I hear you with that. Like, because I initially came out to LA as an 18-year-old right out of high school as well. So when you said
Excellent.
that, yeah, and I wish I had, because I thought like, oh, you don't, a theater degree, so many people get a theater degree or get an acting degree and it doesn't necessarily translate. So rather than waste those 4 years. So that's what I was thinking, but I had never really, I was way too chicken shit to actually jump into the acting world. I think like writing, you know what I mean? It's really intense. And when what you mentioned about coming here, like it took me 4 years to find myself anyway. And even then it took probably another 6 years after that. So like 10 years to really know what the hell was going on. So
did it ever mess with you not having like a professional foundation of a training? Because like that's messed with me when you get to a certain level, you're like, I actually don't know what I'm doing.
Yes. I feel like, so I went down the comedy path because I always wanted to do, like, I didn't even have the, proper verbiage to say like, oh, I want to act or because I just was like, growing up, I'm like, oh, being on Saturday Night Live seems fun. You know what I mean? Like it was like totally unrealistic. Yeah. Expectations. So I did a little improv. It was way too socially anxious at that age. So I like shied away from it, even though like my teachers had said, I feel like you have the chops to be a good improviser, but I just wasn't ready. And then I'd gone through some personal traumas and that I wrote it, and writing was always a part of my deal too. So it was like, I read it and I was like, why have I never tried stand-up? I feel like this would be a great 5-minute bit. So I did, I looked up open mics and I went to one and I'd rehearsed for a month. So it went well the first time. And so, so then I kind of stuck with that and, to bring this back to what we were saying about editing and all that stuff is that once I started performing stand-up, it enabled me, I of course began to edit my own comedy tapes and all that kind of stuff and all my sets. And watching yourself perform, and especially from like that editing seat, you automatically become a better performer because you become so aware of like, oh, I was just not, what was that? Or like, it's crazy how when you said that you learn acting in a different way, and then directing this whole other thing really teaches you, just to be so much more grounded in a scene, I think.
It really does. And it like, to me, it gave me a weird permission that took this like mystical, like, oh, it's just magic and just happen thing that I didn't understand from it. And it made it this concrete, no, this is your job. This is what they need from you. They literally just need you to stand here and look because the music in their cut is going to make everything better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It took a lot of the pressure off, I think.
Totally. Yeah. To realize like that it's not everything's on your shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parts. Yeah. And that all you need to do is make sure that the look that you're representing is what the story needs at that moment. Like,
Mhm.
that's it.
Yes, totally.
Very
But one of the
cool.
things that you said about, writing your own thing to get into stand-up, I love that, because I think so many people approach writing anything in this industry is like, what do people want to hear? Like, what is seen as funny, or what do I need to say to appease the audience? And I think when it does come from inside you and it's just that natural, like raw, real place, that's when people actually connect to it anyway. And so I think it's so cool that that's what moved inside you and made you do stand-up, not you being like, I'm going to be funny, I'm going to pander to these guys.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. And that is, I think, why it ended up bringing me the most success, was because it was from a real honest place. Because when you think, and actually the first couple years, I actually did sort of dabble in material that was like, contrived to a sense of like,
Mhm.
oh, the audience will like this, or people will think that. And once I really got real is when things
Mhm.
really started to take off. And it's true, you can never think like, oh, the audience will like this. Like even with like filmmaking, I just watched a film, and I'm not going to name it on here, but I watched a film that, was done. One of the producers on it, my wife had known years ago. And so we were trying to support, and we watched, and it was that thing of like, I could imagine on paper why they thought like, oh, this is a like, a shoe-in, like,
Yeah.
checks all these boxes, all this stuff, but it was so dishonest. And so just, there was nothing, it was so, every single thing was contrived and forced, and nothing was genuine. And so the whole thing feels like a train wreck. And so it can never be, what does the audience want? It has to be like if you're like, audiences love horror movies, then you seek out horror films, and half of them are trash. And then you find that script that comes from an honest place, and then
Mhm.
the audience will love it. So it's interesting. Yeah.
God, so much. Yeah. I lost my train of thought, but I had one. I was really excited.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. But I'm going to be DMing you later to find out what that movie was.
Totally. I will share it when this interview ends. I will share it. I never want to shit on an indie film, because there were some great parts of it, especially the lead actor did an excellent job. And that's one of those things,
But honestly, too, I think that's an important part of the process, is going through something that is contrived and that you're doing for reasons that don't suit you. I don't even want to say wrong reasons, because whatever, like, especially if you're doing it for money, I think you can do something that isn't creatively fulfilling.
Sure.
But I mean, to me, that's when you get into, I'm working for a corporation, or like,
yes,
you're doing product work, when somebody can tell you what to do and how to do it. But gosh, if you're making it, like, I get a lot more when you get it from that real place.
Yeah, 100%. If you're going to put all that effort in, you can't be doing it for this. You can't have an attachment to outcome of like, well, this is going to make X amount of dollars or whatever the fuck. Like, I mean, I know Hollywood really operates that way, like the big studio films, but they do boatloads of market research, and they're using the best actors in the world. And, they've got the money to make sure it's not going to suck, no matter how formulaic it is.
That's funny. Yeah. They've got the money to make sure it's not going to suck.
Yeah, pretty much. So how did you, so you got into, so editing was the first thing, and then that made you be like, I kind of want to direct now. Was that the order of?
Almost, sort of. I got this funny job here in Boise. We there's a place here that does like most of the food photography and video for like a major grocery chain, and I got hired as a producer there to produce their little food videos that were like on Facebook and Instagram. It was silly fun. So I was kind of directing those a little way, and those are the things I ended up taking over editing after what I was already kind of producing, for lack of a better way to put it. But it did make me sort of want to try directing. The only thing that I've even directed, I am using air quotes, is because it was the web series we just did, Running on Love. And that was, I didn't really mean to direct it. I had somebody in place, and that kind of fell through at the last minute. And so myself and the DP ended up kind of co-directing it. But that experience really made me want to try actually directing something that I'm not in that much.
Yes.
You've had that experience too.
Yes, absolutely.
And now editing it, I'm like, oh, that's your director face. It's not your acting face. Like, you're thinking about what time craft services is showing up. Like, why?
Well, it's a lot to take on. Yeah, if you're
Mhm.
on camera and you're also manning the direction, you really, it's a lot to take on, for sure. But because you have an incredible, it looks like you've dipped your toes in like a ton of really cool, fun projects, and you've done a ton of music videos. Like,
Yeah.
did you just know a lot of independent artists and you were like, I can make a video for the song, or I'd love to do a video for the song, or how did you get into that end of things?
So a lot of the music videos are the person I live with, he's a musician and a composer. And so a lot of it was just him being like, hey, I've got this song, do something to it. So a lot of the music videos I've done are his.
Very cool.
Yeah. And it's been a really fun way to collaborate and like play with editing skills, because he's very much like we'll just try it and see what happens. Not like I need it to look like this person.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
Yeah, it's been a fun way to work.
Yeah. You get to like sort of find, you're getting to learn all of those skills in a way that like lacks, those big pressures of like,
yeah,
I'm being paid this much by this artist and I need to like, make
I can almost not function that way. I'm like,
totally. I love that. I mean, you really do totally have like an indie spirit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Cause I mean, that's where I'm at too. I'm very much like, when something piques my interest, I'm like, I want to bring this to life. Like I can bring this to life. Let's do it. There's no,
yes. And that's the best thing, to have that excitement about it and not like oh, this is your vision and I don't know if I'm going to get it right. Like it's such a different energy to come at it that way.
100%. And also, I'm buying a script this week from I know it's crazy, from a writer, and I'm so excited. It's going to be my feature directorial debut. I've never directed a feature. Yeah. And I'm very excited. And it's one of those things where, I was hell-bent for a really long time on like, well, I have to write what I would direct because I'm a writer, like I can't pick up somebody else's work. And this, this individual had sent me a short film that was 15 pages, 2 years ago to give notes on, to give feedback on. And I sent it and it was great. Gave him notes. He sent me a follow-up, and it was 30 pages. It was a 30-page short film. Okay. And I'm reading it and I'm like, it's excellent. And my only real note for you is, why is this not a feature? I'm noticing that there's these relationships and we really only go through one. So how did we, why not develop those other two and you have a feature? And so he did. And it's one of those things, I know. And it was excellent. And so it's that thing of like, I feel like I got to be part of the development process and, and nurture him, and, to then have his trust immediately of like, you're the one who helped encourage me to turn this into a feature. So of course you can buy it. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh,
but it's like that thing of like so much less pressure, but wanting to honor his vision also.
Right.
It's one of those, I think when you're working with another artist, and you are directing their work, it's you want to honor their vision, but it's great when there's not that overt pressure. And I guess that's what I was trying to put together.
No, but it totally is. And I just think being involved that early in the process with that one gives you such a leg up, because so often I just get mind blown with too much information at once. I'm like, but learning how to communicate through that with people is even part of it. And I don't know, I've been finding so much love for the stumbling blocks that I've had, because I'm like, oh, this means you're actually moving through it. And like, even if you're having poor communication or something goes wrong, it's like, okay, this is part of the process. Like,
yes. Yeah. And gotta get a lesson.
Totally. Well, cool. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Just sort of new. This is the first time I've said it out loud to a person who is not my wife. So,
well, I hear you and I'm excited for you.
Thank you. But yeah, so you did just do this web series.
Yes.
And you've acted. I watched an episode of, what's it called? Vagina Town. Super funny. That is a web series about gynecologists, OBGYNs. And that was you just acted on that.
I just acted on that one. Yeah. That one was actually amazingly written by a 30-year-old dude here.
I love it.
Yeah, no, he just got it. I thought he did a great job writing it.
I mean, is he an OBGYN?
No, he actually, he's not. He's a videographer, photographer. But his business partner, his wife is an OBGYN, and she's very prominent.
Heard the stories. Yeah. And
yeah. So he just heard a lot of it and finally like, I'm writing this down.
That's the best.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So that was one of your more recent acting credits. And that came out, when did that come out?
I think he actually released it in 2019, like October-ish.
Okay. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
It's very funny. People like go look for Vagina Town.
Thank you. It is on YouTube now, and it's streaming on the Lady Filmmakers platform too.
Oh, cool. Great,
Yeah.
great. Good to know there. And then you just wrapped running with what's it called? Sorry,
Running on Love.
Running on Love.
Mm-hmm.
I need to pull up my little notes. Normally, I keep a notes document, and
let's go note free.
Yeah, but I'm because there's a lot. I mean, your resume, because you've worked in production in various roles, and you've worked on a ton of different projects. But so, Running on Love, like when did you take me through the process? When did the idea form? How has the process been? Where's it at?
Sure. Where it's at right now is my computer tanked yesterday, and I made myself not open it before this interview to see what was going on.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be okay. It kind of can't, like, I've tried to write many things before and just never stuck through it for whatever reason. But this one, right after COVID shut down last year, like I was sitting in my room with nothing to do, and I had all this shit going on from life that I didn't know how to process. And it was such a weird time for everybody that I was just like, I'm going to lose my mind, or I'm just going to start writing. And because I had nothing else to do, it went really fast. I think I got all 11 episodes written in like 2 months.
That's amazing.
It just like flopped out, but it was really just me processing a lot, kind of like you said with your stand-up thing, to the point that now that we've shot it and it's getting ready to maybe be out there, I'm like, you get so far removed from something, you're like, this isn't really how I feel. Like, do I really want to say this anymore and put it out? But
it's so funny that you say that, because I chatted with who we just realized is a mutual friend, Alvin Williams, about that very thing with art.
Yeah,
when it does flow out of you. Like, I love that you wrote 11 episodes that quickly, because it meant that there was, those are the most organic stories. Those are the things that, like, but once you get it out, there is this detachment that happens, because you're like, you're no longer, like when I finished a script with my writing partner in the past, like when we wrote Stuck, we had already written another that, was sort of going through this process of being sold, So we sold it in 2015. And then the guy had a few things he wanted to merge, like a couple drafts sort of. And so we were already so invested in writing Stuck that we were like, I remember my writing partner being like, I'm like a Darby man now. Like, I'm like, I'm not really into, and I'm like, I know, like once you birth it out, like, you're sort of like, okay, go off and be your own thing, but there is still the release, and you do still have to be, a little connected to it for a while. So you're sort of like a little far removed. What's the theme?
It's about relationships, and so the two main characters are kind of exploring being in the confines of what society has told them a relationship is supposed to look like, versus like what they both kind of might like, and the fact that that's not something they're supposed to want. So just talking through, even approaching having certain conversations that I just think is so much more freeing if people could have with each other. I'm trying to like, what do I actually want to give
perfectly? I identify. Go ahead. Yeah.
But one of my favorite lines in there, and this is kind of the crux of what I think the whole series is about, is my character is talking to one of her girlfriends because she's talking with her partner about having an open relationship. And I think one of the lines in there is something like, well, if Justin liked Italian food and I never wanted to eat it with him, I wouldn't be jealous if he found someone else to go have spaghetti with. Like, why is sex different? And to me, it's interesting to me how, at least at that time, it was very interesting to me. Who knows how I feel now, but how we put such confines around the people we're supposed to love and want to help them grow. In every aspect. They want to go to school, we support them. They want to like change careers, we support them. They want to explore sexually, no, like we can't even talk about it.
Absolutely, it's true. Yes.
Yeah. So to me, it's kind of about navigating that.
That's amazing. That I love that so much. Like, because it is such a peculiar sort of, there's so much shame still in society wrapped up in sex and sexuality that like, yeah, you like are supposed to be. And when you are in a monogamous, like, or not even monogamous, if you're in a serious relationship, a committed relationship with someone, and like, they know what you want to happen to your body when you die, but you don't, but you like, are like, oh, I can't.
But you're embarrassed to say like, hey, how about a threesome? Like, that's just like something you don't talk about.
It's so, it is so bananas.
Yeah.
I love that. What was it? Is it a same-sex story, or what's the?
So the main couple in it starts out, it's a man and a woman, but season 1 actually ends with my character completely falling for another woman, and then it just kind of ends. So hopefully we get funding to do another season and explore that. But
and so how did you get funding for this? Did you crowdfund? Is it self-funded?
I've always had kind of issues with crowdfunding for different reasons, but honestly, listening to the first couple episodes of your podcast, I'm starting to look at it different and maybe reconsider it. I think it's been interesting for me because I'm in a smaller community. And so people would put it up and be like, hey, pay for my project. And I'm like, all of us are working day jobs so we can pay for our projects. I'm like, this is almost insulting, but I'm going to try to open my mind on that. So I had some friends that I knew had been wanting to produce something. And I approached them about it. I was like, I'm not going to kill myself trying to get funding. So I just went straight to them.
That's amazing.
And they were very generous.
Yeah, good. See, I mean, and that's the thing that just, I mean, when you're an artist, crowdfund it's basically that, but on a bigger scale, because basically what you did was you knew people who were interested in producing something. And that's how this industry works, where like a producer's like, I know some financiers and, those relationships are closely guarded and they like don't want other people to have access to their financier.
Funny, I know.
So that's great that you had people that were willing to champion your work and that liked it to help bring it to life. I mean, that's so special. You know what I mean?
It meant a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that so much. And you filmed it in Boise.
We did. Yeah. And we started filming in like mid-February. And so like COVID was still a thing. I had a complete breakdown beforehand. I'm like, are we being completely irresponsible doing this? But one of the hard parts about being in Idaho is more than half the state does not take this seriously.
Right.
So I was just like, everybody's going to be working on somebody else's set anyway. I'm like, we might as well just follow all the precautions we can and just get it done.
Yeah.
Because, it gets to that point too, where you're like, you put so much work into it. I'm like, I'm not derailing this for 4 months at this point.
Yeah. And then it ended up being so much longer than 4 months,
Yeah.
And at that point, if you've already started, you have to look at, actors, their appearance changing. I mean, we were all going through so much, you know what I mean? We couldn't all go get our hair done or whatever the fuck. So it's like, we need to do this now.
I know it was kind of now or never. I'm like, we're doing this or I'm done.
Yeah, totally. You know what? I hear that. And as long as you guys are safe, then there's nothing to worry about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had to do what you had to do. So because the concept of everybody knows filming in LA is ridiculously hard. I mean, my wife and I talk all the time about moving away because we're like, it's so much easier to film on an indie level anywhere else, So, and especially Boise for people listening. And I mentioned this to you before that I have such a love affair with Boise. It's such a creative,
it's great.
Yeah. It's like it's like a small city of art, of creativity. It really is. And what's the process like there? Is it like, do you know, like pretty much everyone in town where it's like, we'll ask them to shoot in the bar, we'll ask them to shoot in the library. Like how does it?
Yeah. Honestly, 5 years ago, I would have said, hell yes, I know everybody in town, but it's funny how much it's growing and there will be people popping in, a lot of them from LA that I'm like, oh, I don't know this person yet. But as far as locations, we were, pretty lucky. It was all just using people I knew in their spaces and businesses and stuff. And that is nice because most of them don't charge you. We did rent an Airbnb for a specific location. And that was basically the only location we had to pay for.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which was nice. And we did because there were like 10 of us in there for 2 days straight. So I'm like, we're paying for this.
Yeah, we have to pay for it. How many episodes are there in the first season? How many did you shoot?
There are 11 in the first season.
Oh, that's right. You said that. I mean, Jesus. And how long is each episode?
I was shooting for 8 to 10 minutes. I'm a very fast-paced editor. I think, so I'm kind of fast pacing through all of them and getting like a rough cut done. And then I'm going to go back and find where they can breathe and I want them to all be kind of consistent. That's one thing that I did here with trying to get Vagina Town on a different distributing platform. The episodes are so inconsistent in length that was an issue. So I'm shooting for 8 minutes right now.
Cool. I think that's great. I think that's really good. Because the thing with like, short stuff, or I mean, the stuff with digital content, I should say, the thing with digital content is there is that fine line. It seems like, because like when I'd gotten that script and it was 30 minutes and I'm like, do you want to make a 30-minute short or do you just want to make a feature because you're 1/3 of the way there,
Yeah.
And so and that's excellent. You've got 11 episodes, like 8 minutes. That's a great goal. I feel like, when it comes to like web series, right around that 10-minute range is kind of can guarantee the audience will watch the next one and the next one. You know what I mean? They can
I
sit
hope
down
so.
and watch. Yeah, they can watch they'll watch 3 in a sitting. You know what I mean? And the next day watch the next 3. And I feel like it'll kind of work like that, versus doing something that's like, okay, they're, 35-minute episodes. It's like, okay, it's probably going to take me 2 days to watch one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's hard to commit to time now. Like,
it is.
I even stuck, like I loved it and it took me 3 days to watch it just because you're like, oh, I've got 20 minutes now. Okay, I've got to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it is. Especially, this next generation of people. And like, I actually, Quibi, how it had came out during COVID and then went under. I actually think it was ahead of its time. I feel like the concept of bite-sized content and like 10-minute, episodes being sort of the goal that they were shooting for, was excellent and it was brilliant. But I feel like because COVID was going on, people had nothing to do. So they didn't want to watch 10-minute episodes. They actually wanted to watch a 2-hour movie.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it was strange. But I think it was ahead of its time. And I think we will see, it's sort of like how Vine was a thing and then it went under, and then TikTok now is huge. It's just like some things that are ahead of its time in this digital age, we're going to see somebody figure out exactly how to make that concept work.
I think you're totally right. Yeah.
Because there is something for these 10-minute episodes. So I can't, there is a space where eventually it will just be all that,
It makes me wonder, especially as attention spans change, because we did talk about just making this a feature because of the length of it. But I was like, I know for me, it's so much easier for me to digest smaller chunks of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's something magic about features too.
Yeah. And at that point, it's just a difference in storytelling, because episodically, you're 11 episodes. That means that there's like 11 little arcs, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like a feature, you're looking at one larger arc, and of course smaller ones for little character, more side characters, but it's one main story. And episodic, if you're going that realm, that means you've got 11 different stories, you know what I mean, within the same world. That is, I really love this and I love the concept, so I can't wait to watch it.
Thank you.
Do you know, like, are you going to do the festival realm? Because there really are a lot of, I'm sure if you listen to the first episode now, there's a lot of web series specifically at major fests.
There really are. I hadn't, my first plan, because you get to that point of exhaustion with something, I was like, I'm just going to put it on Amazon and on the streaming platform for the film festival and be done, just because it's like I wanted to move on with my life. But the more I'm getting into it and hearing about all these other web series centric festivals, I'm considering it. I want to get through this editing and get it to the composer, and then really sit down and kind of think about it.
Totally. Yeah.
Because I think that would be a good idea to get it out there a little more.
Yeah, no, definitely. You want as many eyeballs on it as you can, but picking the right path is, there's a different path for every project, and that's sort of the thing,
So much. And everybody wants to tell you that there's one way to do everything. And I'm just like, the more somebody's like, you're doing that wrong. I'm like, am I? Am I just not doing it your way?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. I love that. And so you're editing it, you start in it. These are the projects that are, the hardest to sort of see through. Do you have anyone that you like trust, that is like sort of a soundboard that watches and gives you really honest feedback that you can trust? You have a circle. What's that like for you?
Yeah. So the person I live with, he is doing the composing on it. So he's been pretty involved in it. And he's somebody I can bounce stuff off of. The guy who DP'd it for me has been great and did really help me direct it. They're pretty much the only two who have seen any sort of rough cuts of it right now, partially because I just see people, I think feedback's a good thing, but I see people who get so much of it and spend 2 years getting feedback and reworking stuff. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, I need to let out what it is and move on with my life. So I'm like, they're the only two that have given any sort of feedback on it right now.
Totally. I feel that like it's a balance, because I agree with you too. Like some people because I've done script notes for people for like the last 5 years. And there are some people who like keep sending me the same scripts, like all these little tweaks. And sometimes I'm like, I think it's ready to, send to your manager or your agent, and if they're willing to send it out. Like at this point, I feel like it is what it's going to be. And, it's just from here, you're going to still get executive notes until it's produced. So you may as well, you know what I mean? So interesting. Like sometimes there is too much. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it can start to veer from what you want to say. And I think on a project like this, where it's, built up the way that it has, and it has been such a collaboration, I just kind of think for me, the gift in this project is kind of letting it be what it is and not trying to manhandle it too much at this point.
Yeah.
And because to me, that's a fine launching point for something. I'm not trying to make something that's, perfect or going to appease everyone. And I'm like, right now, the first 3 episodes are kind of slow because they're dealing with the relationship, like not being fun and feeling funky. And I keep looking at them because both people who have watched it are like, it's kind of slow and heavy. And I'm like, that's the reality of what the situation is. I'm just like, I don't want to tell it differently because it's kind of what it is, right?
Sure. Yeah. And so that there's nothing wrong with, like, that's great. So basically it's like, good then. So I've effectively established where these people are at. That's what you're telling me.
Right. I just got to figure out how to get people to want to get through those episodes and like keep going.
Sure. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. If it resonates with people, if people relate to it, it can be the heaviest stuff of all time. It doesn't, as long as if it's resonating with people, they won't be able to turn it off. That's kind of the truth of it. And I feel the same way. I love that because I'm very much that same way too, where it's like, this is just what it is. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to put this out in the world because this is just what it is. And feedback is, I definitely, my wife is, I trust her eye completely. And I've got like 3 other friends that I usually, send stuff to get, broader notes. And, but I don't always take them. You don't always have to take them, but it's nice seeing like if everyone has the same note, then it's like, okay, I think I should address that. Or like, I secretly knew that in the back of my mind,
I just don't want to admit it now.
Yeah. But it's glaringly obvious apparently. Right? So, it is a balance, but I love that you're very much like, this is what it is. And because what we're doing here is we're creating worlds, we're creating stories, we're creating people. And sometimes like, that's the reality of what these characters' world looks like. That's the reality of what the situation looks like.
It is.
Yeah. So,
and to me, I'm getting a lot more into the indie sort of art that explores stuff more realistically. Like I grew up on sitcoms, so I love that pacing and humor, and I will always love that. But artistically right now, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more out of some of the stuff that kind of is more rooted in reality and shows things that people are actually going through at a pace they actually go through.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that just is like, I feel like a natural, the natural evolution of an artist, really. Is that what first draws us in is stuff like sitcoms. And when we're at that place in our life where maybe we're a little more deflective or we view things as, we view the world in that broad, hilarious way. But once we're able to get more centered in ourselves and have, grown as a person, we're a lot more comfortable telling more vulnerable stories, more honest stories.
Which can also be broadly hilarious as well. Like that's the thing I'm finding is some of the comedy out there right now. I'm just like, this isn't even funny. Like it's negative, it's hurting people. But I'm just like, then you get into something that's really deep and serious. And like, there is humor in that. And like,
100%.
If you play it honestly, I'm just like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Now I'm the sick fuck laughing over here at this, but this is funny.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be.
And, everything that you just said, I feel the same way, like, and especially with comedy, I feel like the latest generation, Gen Z and everything that they've been into and all this stuff, like they don't really dig like just slapstick, outright, like there has to be some sort of like authenticity to it, some sort of real, like a realness factor. And it seems like everyone's really craving real stories,
Yeah. Like I want to be crying and laughing at the same time.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely, because that's the pinnacle of like the human experience is like it's a great ridiculous sitcom, not ridiculous, but over the top broad moment. But I feel like it's a beautiful line was Karen Walker on Will and Grace once. There was this whole episode where she would be laughing and she's like, it's funny because it's true. And then this one moment is she's like, it's funny because it's sad. Like, that is so good. Like so
I really like that.
Exactly. It's funny because it's sad.
So much, yes.
I love that. So now that I love that that's where you're where your evolution has brought you is that you're really digging these indie stories and a lot more grounded in reality stuff, like the exploration of relationships and sort of these deeper meanings.
Yeah.
So was this, and you said that you'd struggled, finishing stuff before, but then you managed to pop out 11 pages or 11 episodes. Is that like, do you really love to write, or do you just feel like you can do it and ultimately you love to bring things to life? Like what really is the driving force for you all the time?
I guess the driving force for me all the time right now is whatever's pulling me towards getting to know myself better in a way. Because I went through this big flop last year where I stopped wanting to act or do this just to do it or be doing it.
Yes.
And I almost just wanted to quit everything completely, which I'm sure we all go through multiple times, because this is probably about the 9th time I've thought that. But then I started realizing that I could actually, acting and filmmaking doesn't have to be what I grew up thinking it was.
Yes.
I don't know what everybody else thinks it is, but it can be a tool to get to know yourself and connect with other humans. And to me, I guess that's what drives me. So like, I think I can write, but I think it has to come from that place when I am settled in and have something I have to say. So I don't think I'll ever be the type of writer who is like, I'm going to get up and write for 2 hours every morning because this is what I'm going to do. I think if I get pulled to spew out some other thing I need to sort out, I think it will probably come out just as authentically.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to look for, like acting parts that do the same thing. I went back and forth with playing this part in the web series because I did want to just direct it. But then it was like, Katie, you wrote this for yourself for a part you wanted to play, so do it. But I don't know, like I'm running camera on a couple projects next month and I'm like, I like that. I just like learning all of it. And
totally.
I think you get pulled to different things at different times.
I identify completely. I relate to everything you said. You may as well have been sharing my journey with that too. And I think that's so great, because I had moments, where I completely was like, I don't need to do this. Like, I don't want, which is so crazy because truthfully, it was like facing my biggest fear. My biggest fear was like, what if I don't, work in Hollywood? But then it's that thing of like staring down at that and being like, giving yourself the freedom to say you don't have to, and it's okay.
And I think that's amazing. One of my biggest pet peeves is like, even now when I tell people I want to quit acting, they're like, oh, you're giving up. I'm like, or something else means more to me right now.
Yeah, like, totally.
Because I remember when I was in acting classes, when I lived in LA and, doing it and thought, yay, the people I was jealous of were like the kids that were in class with me that would be like, this isn't fitting me right now. I'm going to move to Missouri and like see what's going. And I was just like, wait, you're like an actual fascinating real person.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I hate that we've been trained to see that as giving up or failing if we don't make it in Hollywood. Because to me, you have to sacrifice things that might not be worth it to you.
Yeah.
Or become somebody you don't want to be, or deny something you want to explore.
All of the above. And the standard, of recognizing that like how much of it is such a 1 in a 10 million shot. Like really, like there are people who bust their ass who are so talented, who work enough to like put food on the table, but they're people have to realize that their entire life is looking for the next job. Their entire life is that. And getting to this place where you realize that, I don't know about you, but I'm guessing we're probably from a similar era. And when you grew up, when you're watching stuff, Hollywood in the 90s was news and, celebrity homes and MTV Cribs and all this stuff.
Right.
And you get this idea that like, oh, you just like get a job on a TV show and then you work until the end of time and you're hooked up. Like, that's what it is. And it's like, that's absolutely not what it is, and, in any way, shape, or form. And you start to, when you really realize how many individuals that we think, were like discovered, had been here for 20 years or who are actually, who were raised here, whose parents are in the industry, and they automatically know everyone, and they're like, nepotism is going to win out all the time. Like
in any industry. I think, it just does. I remember I worked at a law firm for 10 years and everybody's family was working there. I'm just like, it just is what it is.
It is,
But at the same thing, like I handpicked who I wanted in this project. I didn't put out like calls or cast because I'm like, you want to work with who you want to work with. So I get it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's the realization of that and the recognition, like you said, like I started to really respect individuals who who had the balls to say, this doesn't suit me as well. Just like you were saying, like in acting class, like, cause the thing is like, it doesn't suit everyone, and the lifestyle doesn't suit me. You know what I mean? Like it did in various aspects, but like, I'm such a creative that, you know, I'll want to do this. Like I'm driven by this need. You know, my parents got a video camera. 3rd grade, I was like, Dad, come film me and Rachel in the pool. We were shooting a movie, and it's called Boat Trouble. And, you know, I told him not to shoot the edge of the pool to make it look like the ocean. You know, I'm like, just shoot the pool only, not the edge.
Right.
And like, you see me, like me and Rachel, like there was like, it's terrible. It was about a fat lady in the pool, like, or in the ocean, bringing us down. It's just terrible. I apologize. You know, kids are mean.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
But, you know, she came for us, and there was like supposed to be like, you know, like an earthquake type situation. So we're like under the, you know, this patio table, and I'm like shaking it. I'm like, Dad, and you hear me like on camera. I'm like, don't show us shaking it. Just show the table shaking, you know? And like, you know, and that continued with every school project. It was like, I'm making a movie for my project, you know, like, so I'm driven by this need to do it regardless. And I think at least for me, and I would love to hear if you relate to this, I assumed, and what I thought was that there was only one way to get there, only one way to be able to make films. And that was to be on camera first. And then you get to direct after that. And you know what I mean? It seemed like that was the only way.
I definitely relate to thinking there is just one way to stop, or I did think that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got really hard for me when I was living down there, is I felt like there were specific rules that you were supposed to follow, and I didn't know them, and I didn't know how to learn them, and I didn't know how to ask without being talked to like I was stupid. That's another thing that's fascinating to me, and I guess every industry, but especially in this one, is how much people just act like you're stupid when you don't know things. Or even here, I see it a lot. People will just talk down to people who are just getting started. And I'm like, why is this a thing? Like, why do we treat people like that? But I definitely functioned under, there are rules in one way, and I didn't know it. So it kind of held me back a little bit until I realized that's not.
Yeah, there's politics in any, you know, in any field, but there's definitely Hollywood politics. There's definitely, you know, certain things here. But like you said, there is that a lot of people do treat, they project their own, you know, they're angry with themselves that they maybe didn't know how it worked when they first started. And so they see someone else and they're like, you don't know anything, honey. And it's like, you're talking to yourself here. Just forgive yourself for not knowing when you were young, you know?
So much. That is such a big thing right now. I'm obsessed with, is just like, I don't think we can say something negative about somebody else that isn't like reflective on us. So every time people are bitching about someone, I'm like, I'm learning so much about you, right?
100%. It's all, and that's really like the comedy thing you mentioned earlier, you know, like so much of it is, you know, fuck you or fuck you. And it's like, no, like, fuck you. Like, you know what I mean?
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. It's all, no judgment. I have like a spiritual, mentor that I see at least once a year. And he, and one of the things, you know, judgment is based on, at least the way that you know, he's helped me see it, is that any form of judgment is a reflection on something that we're afraid of within ourselves.
So much,
you know? So it's like, if I judge someone because, you know, they have the guts to wear like a belly shirt, and I'm like, oh my God, why are they wearing that here or something? Like, it's because I maybe have the desire to dress that way, but I'm too
so much,
you know, it's fucking crazy. And so he has this thing that he shared that I really love. And I try to do it every time I catch myself in one of those moments, where he says, every time he catches himself having a moment of judgment, he says, there goes my ego doing its judgment number again. And,
I love it.
And that's it. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Cause you got to accept that you're feeling it too, and not beat yourself up for it. Like, just be like, oops,
there it goes. And then that's it.
Yeah, totally. But sometimes just addressing it too, or like I've found, you know, having a couple really good friends that you can just be like, I'm having an ugly thought. I just need to have it out so it'll go. But just be like, I don't really believe this. My heart doesn't really feel this, but it's there.
Yes, it's there, and not beating yourself. So it needs to come out, and having those trusted people that aren't going to then hold you in judgment, or who are going to recognize that it's okay. I've had that same ugly thought, you know? Totally.
And it doesn't mean we really feel it or we're bad people. It just is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
We're human.
Totally. I feel like this has already gone so fast. We've got like 10 minutes, but that's okay.
Oh God, are you serious?
Yeah. Like 10, 15.
Oh my God.
But, so I want to make sure that I get everything out of you.
Okay.
So, I love the concept for your web series so much. And
Thank you.
so one thing I'll say is just, to at least like wrap that part up. Please keep me posted on where it ends up and all that, because I love the themes that you're exploring, and I love that people are saying that the first few episodes are heavy and slow, because that's when you're asking people to tune in, like, it's scary because you're afraid, like, oh, are they going to turn it off? But I just think that's ballsy and good. Like, don't change it, please. And I would love to see it. I can't wait. You're doing camera on a couple stuff, you said, and you do shoot stuff on camera. What do you shoot on? What's that process? Do you love being like the actual DP? What's your sitch?
So I haven't, like, as far as being an actual DP, that's a fun thing about doing things indie wise in Boise. I did travel around with the men who were in charge of shooting Vagina Town. They got hired to travel around Idaho and do like a 7-episode series of all the regions of Idaho.
Cool. Right
after we shot Vagina Town, and they needed a camera person, and I don't know why. I was like, I can do it. And so I shot them all summer it was just a DSLR, but those look great now for web stuff. It was a YouTube series. So that was amazing, and really the first experience I had with doing that. And again, it's just one of those things where I say yes and learn. I'm shooting something this weekend on a red. I've had like a couple of lessons with it and had it in my hand. So I'm like, cool. I think that is going to be fun. And then in early September, I'm following 2 women to Montana. They're from here, and they're both from Montana. They live here now. And they were both integral parts of the web series. And they're going to go back and kind of like explore the mutual places that they had there. And we're shooting that, I think, on a Canon 200, the C200.
Cool. Yeah.
I've started working with that and really enjoying it too.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. Like during the pandemic, I got my first camera too. I just got a Blackmagic Pocket 4K.
Those are great.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm one of the other guests that I've had, Keely, she, Cope Sedith, I had remembered that she was committing herself like once a month to like a camera lesson with a DP. And it just seems like, learning all aspects of this machine is becoming more and more prevalent. Mm-hmm. So how have you found that process with getting to actually be in charge of shooting? Like, does it inspire a new side of creativity? How does it feel?
I'm trying to figure out how it feels right now, because it either feels like really exciting and inspiring, or like something I'm using to distract myself from just focusing. Like, because you ever feel like I'm like, okay, am I just getting all these balls in the air so I don't have to really commit to this one that could drop and shatter me, or do I really want to do all this? So I don't know. I absolutely love it, but I feel like there's a little part of my personality I need to start kind of like reining in and really focusing on a few things.
Sure. Either way, it'll never be bad if you're going to direct that, the camera.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I am loving it. So who knows, but it's so hard to say. I think the second I say, yes, I love camera and want to do it, some part will come along. Or the second I'm like, oh, I just want to act. They'll be like, hey, can we pay you to go film this? I'm like, okay.
Of course.
But it's all good.
Exactly. And I have those with like comedy. It's like, I do more and more film stuff, but I still, sometimes I'm just like, do I even want to do stand-up anymore? Do I even want to do shows? I'm not really, I haven't written that much material. I'm not really compelled anymore, because it was all I did for such a long time.
Okay.
But then I still like, I'll go and I'll do shows, and I'm just, I see the comics and I'm in the community, and I'm like, well, it's such a great community,
right, right.
It's hard to cut that fucking cord.
God, it is, especially with social media and seeing everybody doing stuff. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to do that again. It's fine.
Totally. Well, and that's the thing too, because I like to be as transparent as I can with, in particular, when you are sort of moving in another direction, like, again, it's okay. And people think like, oh, are you giving up or anything? And it's like, no, like I got to like do, I lived on the road in my 20s. Like I got to do stand up, like for a long time. And it did get me like a good manager. It got me all this stuff. So it's not like it was for nothing. In fact, it helped me heal a lot of the traumas that that's really what it was. But now that I've healed from those things, it's no longer for me the go-to expression, and that's okay, and we see these people on social media and we think like, I'm not doing anything. Like, look at how that's bringing them success. But it's like trying to remember that, the first show that I did out of COVID, I literally I'm seeing everyone be back on doing shows, all this stuff. I go do a show that I've seen other people at that looked like a fucking riot. It looked like a blast. And I go there and everybody's just low energy, and the comics are like, I'm exhausted, I don't stay out this late anymore. And it was just this realization of like, the reality versus how it looks on social media is always going to be two different things, you know?
Totally. And something else you said in there was like seeing how happy they are doing whatever they're doing. And that's something that I think I got wrong in my head a long time ago, was like, you would look at somebody who was really happy and be like, oh, they're happy because they're doing that, and keep trying to like chase whatever you thought was making them happy. And then just, it's so funny how inspiring it is when somebody finds what makes them happy and does it. Then that becomes the new thing that everybody else wants. They're like, oh, this person's happy because they're staying at home doing laundry. I want to do that. Like when somebody has true joy for what they're doing, I think it makes everybody else want that.
100%.
And I feel like, yeah, we just need to get better at centering ourselves and being like, what do I want?
What do I want? And you know, I got, the other day I was super stoned, and this like thought came to me, and I just like wrote it down, and it was just like, if you love who you are, you'll always love where you are. And that's just pretty much like, it was just like a stone thought. And I'm just like, but that's
I love that you wrote it down.
Oh yeah. I emailed myself in the moment. So now it's just in my email, like as a subject line. I like, that's the next great. Day I was like this, you know, but it's true. Like if you love who you are, then you're going to love whatever it is you're doing without thinking, what is this going to lead to? Where is this going to, it's going to just be like, you know, and we realize that they all, cause you were talking about the camera stuff, and sometimes it's that, you know, that question. And I think like, I feel like it almost is as, you know, easy to just say, if it feels good in the moment, do it in the moment, you know, because ultimately it is going to form you into a better artist. And that's, our lives are about, you know, forming ourselves, becoming our fully formed beings.
I just think so. And I think that we've let them be about telling ourselves no. And just like you said, it's just saying yes to whatever feels good then, no matter how it's judged or you're told it's supposed to be, or like,
yeah.
I mean, probably with the exception of a few things that are unhealthy to feel in the moment that might be good.
Yes. Oh, there's a few things. Yes. Instant gratification is different than like, and I think the
totally.
thing that spiritual mentor said something else that I think all the time too. The truth always feels good. If you really pay attention, the truth always feels good. So if you're asked to do a job, and on one hand, you're like, yeah, this will lead to X, Y, and Z, but deep down it's like, oh, but that's not really what I want to do. Then like, it doesn't feel good. So you got to say no, you know?
It's just really hard to learn, but yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
I have to cough, and I'm like, so sorry. But I had my coffee and it went down the wrong.
No, I'm trying not to pee, so it's fine. We're great.
Right. Yeah. We, nowadays after COVID, you know, two women sitting down, it's like having coffee every 30 minutes. It's like, I need to pee.
I know that was hard. The last, what was it? It was a camera job or something that I was on. I didn't realize how much I actually do pee during the day until like you're in the scenario and you can't, you're like, shit, I'm gonna go every 5 minutes. Sorry.
Totally. And so yeah, so tell me, you know, you're in the Boise scene, but you spend a lot of time in LA. You get to work in Salt Lake City a lot, which I love.
Yeah.
Now how is it working like outside of, but it's because you're so familiar with LA, I'd love to know, like, how is it in those other markets? Is there like, how much work realistically is coming in, and what types of work? Is there a lot of independent projects, or is most of it like commercials and industrials? Like, what is it?
So in Boise, like most of the well-paid stuff is commercials and industrials. We have like a random big SAG film come through here every year or so. But right now, a lot of it is just like local commercials and industrials. Mm-hmm. I don't think, and I could be wrong, that you could like move here and just full-time act right now. I kind of think you could in Salt Lake though, because they've got like all the Disney and Hallmark stuff, and Yellowstone was there for a while. I got to work on that.
Oh, cool.
And I think they pulled it to Montana, but I mean, they've got a lot of big features in there. The one I did there will be streaming June 25th now.
Oh,
and it
cool.
just got done premiering at Tribeca. So that was kind of cool.
That's right. You sent me that too. So what's the title of that one?
That one's called My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To.
Yeah.
It's a kind of horror thing. It's getting a lot of really good attention though.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
and it's premiering at Tribeca, which is right now.
Yeah. So it got into it last year, but then COVID. So then they did. And I think, was it your first guest had something that did similar? It was there and then came back this year. So they just screened it last week there, and then they're going to be releasing it next week.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Super exciting.
Yeah, it is. But so that was in Utah. And I think there's a lot more going on in Utah right now.
I just saw The Killing of Two Lovers, and it was shot in Utah.
Okay.
So, and that's like an indie film that came out. So yeah, I do see that there is a trend, you know, independent films are definitely shooting outside of LA, like more often than not. So
which is nuts.
Yeah, but exciting too, you know, especially for people in those markets that like are looking to build, you know, materials so that if they do make the move to New York or LA at some point, you know, they're not showing up empty-handed, you know, like you and I did.
God, right? I know that's been the funniest thing that I try to, like, whenever anybody asks me here, I'm just like, oh, stay here and build your resume first and then go.
And discover yourself as an artist, become comfortable as an artist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's easier to do in a place that isn't where the whole town isn't obsessed with the art form. Cause then like, if something else does pull you, you don't feel like that much of an outsider, and you don't feel like this failure for being like, oh, I actually want to open a Starbucks. I don't know. Like,
yeah, it's true. Like there is this vibe here where it's like, if you're not in the industry or if you're not, like, it's sort of just like, what are you in LA for? If you're not, you know what I mean? There is that. It's true. I have a friend, I've always admired his ability. He had wanted to be an actor at one point, but he just has such a curious mind. And so we worked at a restaurant together. He had gotten fired and he was like, I'm going to start a business. So he like learned photography, started a little business called Actor Helper, then was doing headshots full time. Then he opened a photo booth company. He was doing events all over the country, you know, and he became a real businessman, and acting just fell to the wayside. And there was never any regrets there, because it was just like, I got pulled in a new direction, you know?
Which I think is beautiful. And the fun thing that is like, so oftentimes I see that happen to people, and then some perfect part comes up for them that they're great at now because of the life experiences that they've let themselves have. And then I just felt like I was turning into that actor that was like so desperate for any part that like none of them were filling me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I don't want to be that either. I'd rather be the person who starts a photography business and takes the parts that are great for me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately it needs to be that. There is, you know, it's good to demystify the experience of acting, you know, because so many people are like, well, I'm a chameleon. I'm just going to be like Meryl Streep. And it's like, no, there's like one actor every generation that gets to play all those roles. Everyone else just plays a version of themselves, you know, because we're all an energetic entity. And some people are right for, you know, a specific, you know, fill a specific energy in a creative world. And yeah. So I love that. I love that. So, okay. So you are a talented actor, a talented editor, director, and writer when it flows out of you. Tell everyone where they can find all your stuff and what's next. Tell us what's next too. I'd love to hear.
All right. So right now, most of my stuff is on katiepreston.com because it's just easy to keep it all there. I do have an IMDb page started for Running on Love, but I'm trying to let myself get through editing it a little bit before I really flesh that out.
Sure.
I am on Instagram as the letters KT Preston. And then what's next? Well, right. I just got a grant to edit.
That's amazing.
So that's why I'm heading down in a couple weeks to just sit in my friend's apartment and edit down there and not get distracted up here.
What's I'm really grant? Where did you tell us how you got the grant? Because that's
there's some amazing artist grants through the city of Boise. This one's called the Alexa Rose Foundation Grant.
Cool.
And it's specific to artists. Like it's really interesting because a lot of they don't want you to apply and be like, I'm doing this for the community or for this group of people. They want you to apply and be like, this is what I need, and this is why to make me a better artist. So I got that, and I'm gonna come down and edit. And then I'm working on that Montana thing, I guess, in August. And then another friend wrote a web series here that we're going to be shooting in September or October.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So you kind of have like 2 months. So you kind of have 2 months to get Running on Love sort of pulled together before you're on the road and you know, working on the next stuff.
Yeah. I'm trying to get it off to the composer and then start going through that process.
Totally. Which music is some of my favorite parts of filmmaking. I love choosing the music. I love getting to be a part of that process. And it's great that you live with a composer. That is a hack, indie film hack. Right?
Totally recommend it.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and for chatting and talking shop. I can't wait to.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see your stuff, see the web series when it comes out. I watched some music videos. Everyone listening, if you check out Katie's website and her resume, I mean, it's just a laundry list. You've worked a lot, and I hope everyone listening can find that inspiring and, you know, and realize that they can just say like, I'll pick up a camera, I'll do it, you know.
I think you can.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, beautiful.
Thank you for having me so much. This was great.
Yeah. Oh, you're so very welcome. I'll, we'll end it here. So I'll say goodbye here, but don't hang up because I'm going to tell you the name of that film. Sorry, guys listening.
Thank you.
But thank you, Katie. It was great talking to you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.